Dear students, today we are going to study some of the functions which are present in the Module 2 and Module 3, which will be helping us in viewing and translating and other transformations. We will study about the OpenGL two-dimensional viewing functions and also about the affine transformations and OpenGL geometric transformation functions. The OpenGL two-dimensional viewing functions consist of multiple functions which are for projecting, clipping, window, viewport, all these. So whatever we can do for two dimension, just for the two dimension, if I add my viewport, I am going to get it for the three-dimensional application. So the library has been specifically, it has not been written for two dimension. We can also go for three-dimensional applications also by adding the viewport. The OpenGL utility, that is GLU, it provides a two-dimensional functions for specifying clipping window, and we have the GLUT functions which are used for handling the display windows. Therefore, we can use these two-dimensional routines along with the OpenGL viewport for all the viewing operations we need. In OpenGL, all the transformations are usually nothing but it is a multiplication of matrices. That means we will have a point and then we'll have the transformation and they will be multiplied, and this gives rise to a transformation. So the mathematics behind these transformations, they will be simplified by the notation of the matrix. Each of the transformations can be achieved by multiplying a matrix which will be consisting of vertices by a matrix which will describe the transformation. Before we select a clipping window and the viewport in OpenGL, we need to establish the appropriate mode for constructing the matrix to transform from world coordinate system to screen coordinate. So we must first select the projection mode. To select the projection mode, we need to make use of the API GL matrix mode GL projection. So what will this do? It will designate the projection matrix as the current matrix, which is originally set to the identity matrix. However, if we are going to loop back through this statement for other views of the scene, we should also set the initialization as GL load identity. This particular API, it will ensure that every time we are entering the projection mode, the matrix will be reset to the identity matrix so that the new viewing parameters are not combined with the old ones. To define a two-dimensional clipping window, we can make use of this GLU Ortho 2D. In this, the coordinate positions for the clipping window boundaries, they are usually given in the double position number. This function specifies an orthogonal projection for mapping onto the scene. For a three-dimensional scene, this means that the objects will be projected along the lines which are perpendicular to the two-dimensional XY display screen. But for a 2D application, the objects are already defined in the XY plane. Therefore, we just have to go for normalizing the coordinates. The normalized coordinates are in the range -1 to 1. They are used in the OpenGL clipping routines. Objects outside the normalized square are not seen in the scene which will be displayed. If we want to specify a clipping window in application program, the default coordinates, if you don't give the values, the default coordinates will be -1, -1, +1 and +1. That is, minimum is -1 and maximum is +1. So the normalized square will be centered on the coordinate origin with its side length which will be equal to 2. The viewport parameters for the OpenGL function GL viewport has been given by GL viewport XVmin, YVmin, VP width and VP height, where all these four parameter values are given in integer screen coordinates. They cannot be floating point numbers. They have to be exactly integer values, and these will be relative to the display window. These parameters XVmin and YVmin, they are going to specify the position of the lower left corner of the viewport relative to the lower left corner of the display window. So we'll be having a display window. Within the display window, we will be having the viewport. So this xvmin and yvmin is going to tell us where actually in the window the viewport will be located. And the pixel width and height of the viewport are set with the parameters VP width and VP height. The coordinates for the upper right corner of the viewport are calculated for this transfer matrix in terms of the viewport's width and height. That means XV max will be equal to XV min plus VP width. YV max will be equal to YV min plus VP height. Then multiple viewports can be created in OpenGL and they can be used for a variety of applications. We can obtain the parameters for the currently active viewport by using a query function. You can ask or you can find out which is my present viewport. So to find that one, you just have to give GL get integer v, GL viewport VP array. So where this VP array, it is a single subscript 4 element array. This get function, it is going to return the parameter for the current viewport to the VP array in the order xvmin, yvmin, VP width and VP height. That means the output of this will be present in VP array. Presently what viewport I am using, if I want to find out current viewport, we can just give this API. So you are going to get the 4 elements, that means the 4 dimensions of the window, it will be present in your VP array. It will be the output of this GL integer v will be present in your VP array. In the VP array, there will be 4 elements that will be equal to xvmin, yvmin, VP width and VP height. In this slide, you can see the similarity, or you can say how the viewport is present within your window. In the first picture, we are having the window and the viewport same. So when both of them are the same, that means viewport is same as the window. We are not differentiating. Then what happens? The viewport and the window boundaries will be same, and you will be having in the GL viewport, when you give the dimension of the window itself as the viewport values, you are going to get it as 0, 0, 250 and 250. Where 0, 0, it is nothing but it is giving the value for place of start of the window. That means what is the minimum value and what is the second minimum value. First minimum value is for the x parameter, second one is for the y parameter, and you are going to get 250 and 250 as the width and the height, which is equal to 250 and 250. So the width is 250 and the height is 250. In the second picture, you can notice now what is going to happen. If I am giving GL viewport as 0, 0, 125, 125, the meaning is the viewport is located at xvmin 0, yvmin 0. That means the origin of this viewport is 0 and 0, and its width and height are given in the third and the fourth parameter. That means 125 and 125. You can see that now the viewport is half of the window. So this is how we can go for making use of the GL viewport. If you don't specify, it will be nothing but the window. But if you want to occupy only some part of the window, then you can go for giving the smaller dimension of a window and calling it as a viewport. So you can see here that in the second one, you are having the viewport will be having the value as 0, 0, 125, 125. We have a vast GLUT library, but if you want to make use of this GLUT library, at the beginning of the main, we will observe that we will always be giving one API, and this API is GLUT init, argc and rv. So to initialize the graphics library, this is my first API in the main program. This can also be used for processing the command line arguments. Then we have the GLUT init window position. This function will give the integer screen coordinate position for the top left corner of the display window relative to the top left corner of the screen. So we have screen and window here. So where the display window has to come, where its position should be there, that is given by the top left with respect to x and the top left with respect to y. The second function, that is GLUT init window size. Here we are going to choose a width and the height for the display window in positive integer pixel dimensions. I am going to specify the width and the height. What will happen if I don't give the values here? Then what is going to happen? The default size for the window will be taken as 300 by 300, and the default position, that means the top left x and y what is there, it will be taken as -1 and -1. So this is left to the window management system. Then we have the glut create window. This function is going to create a display window with the specified size and position, and it is going to assign a title. Although the use of the title, it will also depend upon the window system. At this point, the display window is defined but will not be shown on the screen until all your glut setup operations are completed. Only then it will be displayed. The display window parameters are selected from the glut function by making use of glut init display mode. This function is going to choose a color mode. It can be RGB or it can be index. Index means in an array we will be having the colors, and every colors will be having a number, and it will be having different buffer combination. The selected parameters are combined with the logical or operations. We can go for multiple parameters, and all of them can be odd. That means we are combining multiple of these. The default mode is single buffering. It can be single buffering when we don't have any animation. It is double buffering when we have animation. And RGB is the default color what I am going to use, the color mode. And RGB, usually it will be in terms of RGBA. That means we will be having one alpha to talk about the transparency. Glut init display mode when we give. So if we are having glut single or glut RGB, that means it is a combination of single buffer and we are making use of the RGB color system. The color mode specification, it is equal to RGBA. So background color for the display window, if you want to give, you can make use of GL clear color, red, green, blue and alpha. So the background color will be a combination of red, green and blue, that is white color. Or if you want to specify in the index mode, the mode can be either the RGB or it can be the index mode. If you want to specify by using a number, you can also do that by using the clear index API, where you are going to specify this index. This index will be a integer value and it is going to correspond to one position within your color table. Whenever a display window is created, a number is assigned to it. So the first window what is created will be having the number as 1. So if you want to know the window number, we can make use of this glut create window, my window. So you'll be having a number for this window. That means the ID for this window, it will be stored in a variable called as window ID. Why do we need this window ID? If I save this integer value, future if I want to change some parameters in my window, that particular window, then I can go for that. Or if I want to delete my window, I can also go for that particular ID. So if I want to delete a window, I can make use of the API called as glut destroy window. So here I can specify either it can be the number what I have just created or any other number. I can go for giving the window number and that window will be destroyed. Suppose you want to go for seeing which is my current display window and you want to apply some operations. So the current operations whatever is there, it will apply to only your current window. But if you want to apply to some particular window, then what you can do, you can set that window by using a window ID. So whichever window ID you give, that window will be selected and then you can go for affecting only that particular window. So also we can find out at any point of time which is my current display window. So if I want to get my current display window, you can make use of an API called as glut get window. So this API will return a value. So whatever the window number will be there, present window number, that will be returned. So a value 0 is returned if there are no display windows or if the current display window was destroyed. So 0 will be returned. If there is no windows at all, then because there are no windows, a value of 0 will be returned. The screen location for the current display window, it can be reset by making use of glut position window. So where the coordinates will specify the new position for the upper left display of the window corner, which is relative to the upper left corner of the screen. So this x and y, it is going to give the upper left corner's x and y value where you want to move the window. So you can go for using this glut position window. Say suppose I want to reset the size of the current display window. Then you can go for glut reshape window and you have to specify the new width and the height. Suppose I want to expand the current display window to fill up the entire screen. Then you can go for glut full screen. So then if I am doing all these things, what is going to happen? The size of the display window is going to be changed. When the size is changed, the aspect ratio will also change and the object will be distorted from their original shapes. Usually this is going to happen when we have some animation or some change in the object. Then you are going to have the distortion. To avoid this, we should make use of the glut reshape function. So when this glut reshape function is used, it is going to adjust the size of the display window and a new width and the height are passed as its argument. Here we can see the function called as myfunc. This is nothing but it is the callback function. This callback function, it is for the reshape event. We can use this callback function to change the parameters for the viewport so that the original aspect ratio of the scene will be always maintained and you will be seeing the object. The glut library has a number of APIs which can be used for manipulating display window in many ways. These routines are very useful when we have multiple display windows on the screen and we want to rearrange them, or we want to put some window in the front, put some window in the back, we want to hide a window, or we want to locate a window. So to do all these things, we can make use of some of the APIs like this. Suppose I want to convert one display window to an icon. That means one small symbol, small picture I want to convert. We can do that by making use of the glut iconify window. So my current display window, what is there? So you don't have to specify any number, anything in the argument. You just give the glut iconify window. See, whenever you are having any arguments in the bracket, then you have to give the window number or something. But in this case, I am not giving any number. Just I am calling glut iconify window. So when you do any API, when you run any API without any parameter, that means it is applicable to the current display window. So when you give this glut iconify window, you are going to get a small icon for your display window. You want to give a title to this, then you can go for glut set icon title that can be given. We can change the name of the display window by making use of the glut set window title. And then if you are having multiple display windows open on the screen and all of them will be overlapping and it will be disturbing the entire appearance, we want to choose some of them to be in the front and some of them to be at the back. So what we have to do, if I want to put my window, some window to the front, you have to mention the window ID and then you have to make use of the glut set window ID. Along with this is always paired with a glut pop window. So when you go for these two statements, we are going to make this window come to the front. In a similar way, if I want to put one window on the background, I don't want to see in the front, I want to put it at the back so that it is behind all other display windows, then I have to make use of one pair of statement, that is glut set window. I will use glut set window for both these, but I am going to make use of the pop and the push to differentiate whether I have to bring it to the front or I have to move it to the back. If I am using pop means I am going to bring it to the front. If I am using push means I am going to move it to the back. So when I use the glut set window, specify the window ID and use a glut push window, my current display window or my window which is having a window ID as window ID, that will be moved to the back. We can also take the current window off the screen. If I want to hide some screen, then I can make use of glut hide window. Or if I want to go for bringing back my current window back to the screen, the opposite of the hide window, you can go for glut show window. So when you do this, the current display window, it will be invoked and it will be brought back to the present display. If I am concentrating on one particular window, and in that window if I need multiple smaller windows, then you can always go for this API. Glut creates sub window. So the window ID what I am providing here is my window which I want to make into smaller windows. So then you can specify the X bottom left, Y bottom left, width and height. That means with respect to my window ID, that means window with present window what I am referring to, with respect to that you can position your current window with its width and height. The sub windows will be assigned a positive integers in the same way like how we go for all display windows, and whatever the operations we were doing for the other windows, we can do that for these also. That means we can reshape, we can reposition, we can push them, pop them, we can hide. All of this we can go for doing for the sub windows also. But only operation what we cannot do on this is we cannot iconify the sub windows. That means we cannot convert the window into a image or an icon. That is not possible in my glut sub windows. In OpenGL we have some interesting APIs like this. That is, if I am having glut set cursor shape, you can make use of some different cursor shapes by specifying that in your shape. For example, if I am having glut cursor up down, that is one constant. So if I am making use of the symbolic constant as shape, then you are going to get one up down bidirectional arrow. So if you want a rotating arrow, then you can go for the glut cursor cycle. And if you want to get a wristwatch like shape means, then you can go for a glut cursor weight. And if you want for a skull and a crossbone like danger symbol or something, then you can go for the glut cursor destroy. So these are some of the symbolic constants what can be included in your API glut set cursor to change the shape of your cursor. We know that the mouse cursor usually when it is moving, we will have the arrow mark. So other than the arrow mark, you can also go for changing. You can also assign your own shapes and you can give the constant values, and then you can go for making use of them in your glut set cursor. After all this has been done, now I want to go for the display window and I want to put my values which has to be shown on your output screen. So what all the output has to be seen, usually that we are going to include in my glut display function. The glut display function, it will be having one argument which is called as a myDisplay function. This myDisplay function, it is called as the callback function because it is a routine which will be executed whenever the glut will see that the display window content should be renewed. So this routine, it will usually contain the OpenGL primitives and attributes that are going to define a picture or a drawing or a combination of multiple pictures. Although it can specify many other constructs like menus and all these things. So if we have set up the multiple display windows and this process is repeated often, we may need to call another function to support the glut display function after the glut pop window. So in this case, the following function is used, which is the function, it is going to see that the contents of the current display window should be renewed again and again. So this function is nothing but the glut post redisplay. So if you want to renew it again and again, then you can go for the glut post redisplay. So if I want to execute the complete program, then I have to go for the glut main loop. So all the windows and all the contents, they are sent to the screen, and it will eventually make sure that the glut processing loop will be continuously checking for any new events, if there is any interactive input, if there is any input from the mouse, or if there is any input from any other input device. All of them will be considered, and finally the program will be executed because of this glut main loop. The glut system, if it is not executing any other event, then I can include one of the event in my API called as glut_idle function. In the glut_idle function, when I include the myIdle function, this myIdle function will be executed whenever the system is having some free time. That means the process, it will be a big process is there, where system is there, it will be executing multiple APIs and all these things and all, and it will be having some free time. At this free time, whenever it is free, I want to execute some function. That function I am going to specify as myIdle function. So this function will be executed whenever the glut system is idle. That means whenever the glut system is free and it is having some time for execution. Then the API for glut_get, it is giving us the parameters of the current state parameters. That means presently in my window, presently on my screen, presently with respect to my display window, there will be so many parameters. Maybe its width, maybe its height, where it is positioned, all these things. If I want to get some parameters of the present window, then I can go for the glut_get, and I have to mention the parameter which I am interested in. So if I give in the parameter glut window x, it is going to give my windows x value. What will be the top left corner of the screen, that will be given in respect to the glut window x. If I want to know the width of the screen, then you can go for the glut window width. And if I want to know the screen width, then you can go for the glut screen width. The glut screen width or the glut window width, it is going to give us what will be the size of your window with respect to the width. These are some of the APIs which are used for the viewing. What all viewing functions we have studied up till now. Let us study all of these with respect to one programming example. In this programming example, we are going to produce a split screen effect where we will be having two triangles displayed. The first triangle which will be in its original position, and the second triangle, it is going to be at a right angle of the original triangle. This is a C++ program. We can do the OpenGL programming in C++ also. This is an example. The same thing you can do in C also. After first taking the reference points as x and y in a class, then we will see what will be done in the init function. This init function, if I want to specify the color of the display window to be white, then I am going to make use of the GL clear color. You can see in the RGB we are having 1, 1 and 1, and in the alpha we have the 0. So this is talking about the transparency. The transparency will not be effective until you are not using any lighting and shading. So this won't be significant over here. It can be either 0 or it can be 1. So the background color is set as white, and then the default matrix mode, what is there, it will be set as the GL projection. And then by using the GLU Ortho 2D, I am going to mention the 4 parameters for the min, max and the XW min, XW max, YW min and YW max. The coordinate positions for the clipping window boundaries. These clipping window boundaries are usually in the floating point values. That is the double precision values we are going to give. So if I want to set the mode for the construction of the geometric transformations, you have to bring back the matrix mode to the GL model view. So this is about the init function, which is part of an example program. Now I have a triangle function in which I am going to pass one array which is called as words. This words is from the display function. It will be having the 3 points with respect to x and y. So by making use of the GL begin, GL triangles, and running the loop for 3 times, I am going to mark 3 points, and every point will be having one x and y value. So the K loop is running for the 3 times, and I will be having 3 values for the loop. So every time I am going to call the GL vertex, you will see that a point will be marked. And because I have given the geometric primitive here as GL triangles, now what is going to happen? All these 3 points are going to be joined together and it will make up one triangle. So this is a triangle function. This triangle function will be creating the triangle. Whenever we want to assign something to the window, or we want some display to be seen on the window, we have to make use of the display function. So when we make use of the display function, the triangle will be displayed on your monitor. The triangle has its parameters, that means its 3 points given in terms of x and y, specified here by minus 50, minus 25, 50, minus 25, 0 and 50. So this triangle should be seen on your screen. If that has to happen, the concerning statements, they should be present in the display function. So I am going to make use of GL clear, GL color buffer bit. When I use this API, then I am going to clear my display window. That means I am wiping off whatever was there in the previous output, that will be cleaned. That is given by the GL clear, the GL color buffer bit. Next, when I go for GL color 3F, I am using here red, green and blue. The blue is given as 1. That means I want to fill the color by making use of the color called as blue color. Fill color means whatever the drawing is coming next, after a few statements, whichever drawing comes, that drawing will be done in blue color. So first I am making use of that means I am setting my color to blue. First I will set the color to blue. Then I am going to set my left viewport. This left viewport, you know that it will be having 4 parameters. It will be having 0, 0, that means the origin from where it is starting, and then it is going to tell me about what is this height and width. So we are going to select the viewport from 0, 0 with its height and width as 300 and 300. Continuing on the display function, when I give the triangle, now I am going to get my blue triangle. Next I am going to set my next color to red. That means I want the next triangle to be in the red color. So I am going to set that as red color. And then the viewport I am going to set as the right viewport. Previously I had it as a left viewport. I want one more triangle to be drawn in the right viewport. So I am going to make use of GL viewport. So after giving this, when I give the GL rotate, so we are having the rotation, and we are having the rotation with respect to Z axis. So what is the angle? That is your first parameter, and then X, Y and Z is coming. So because the Z is equal to 1, which means that we have to rotate it by 90 degrees on Z axis. After this is done, then you will see that a red rotated triangle will be displayed because of the triangle function. And the last statement in your display is the GL flush. We know that the GL flush will make sure that in all the functions, if there is anything resident in that one, it will be removed and it will force all of them to be executed before the display function closes. So this is the advantage of the GL flush. And the last function is the main function. In the main function, we will be having the arguments as argument count and argument list. This can be made use of when we are executing a program in the command line. So the first statement in the main is the glut init. The glut init is used for initializing the glut system. That means what all library functions are there. If you want to make use of it, you can go for the glut init, argc and argv. The glut init display mode, it is going to set my window in the single window mode. That means there won't be any animations, just one static image will be displayed. That is why glut single, there is no movement. And then the color system what I am using is the glut RGB. You can see that we are using a OR symbol. You can use multiple symbolic constant like this, and you can go for ORing them. That means all their effect will be reflected in your output. Then I am having the glut init window position. So the initial window position where it is, that is given by the value 50 and 50. And then we have the glut init window size. The total window size will be equal to 600 by 300. And then we have the glut create window. I am going to give a title by making use of this API, the glut create window. And then I am going to call my function which is called as init, in which I had set the color, the matrix mode and the orthogonal view. So that is done in the init function. The glut display function, what all you want to put onto the screen, whatever you want to display, those statements will be present in your display function. So this display function is a function, it is an event. So it should be executed so that the output will be displayed on your screen. Then you can go for the last statement, that is the glut main loop. Once you execute the glut main loop, it will ensure that all the statements in all the events, it will be executed. The program will be in a loop, continuous loop, until all the constructs are completed. The program will not end. That will be made sure by this glut main loop. So you can see here we are having the output, we are having a blue color triangle, and we also have a rotated red triangle. The blue color triangle was created by making use of the vertices what are specified in your program, and after that by making use of the GL clear and the GL color and the GL viewport and the GL rotate. Now I am going for getting the output, which is a red triangle, which will be rotated by an angle of 90 degree. This is happening because we are having the API is written accordingly. So from this example, it is clear that all the APIs what we have learned up till now regarding the viewing, they will be applied in the program in this way. So whenever you look at this API here, you can make out all these are supporting our viewing. So the window position, where actually the initial window position will be there, what will be the size, and what will be the title. You can see here the title of the screen. You can see it is given as split screen example. So you can give the title also. This is how we have to make use of all the APIs from your viewing functions. Now we will see about the affine transformations. A coordinate transformation which is of the form where x dash will be equal to axxx and axy, axzz plus bx. So if it is in this form, the x dash, y dash and the z dash, if it is in this form, then we call it as a affine transformation. Here each of the transformed coordinates, that is x dash, y dash and z dash, it is a linear function of the original coordinates which are x, y and z. Along with this, we also have the parameters aij and bk, which are the constants, and these constants are going to determine the transformation type. Affine transformations have a general property that parallel lines will be transformed to parallel lines and finite points will be mapped onto finite points. This is the property of the affine transformation. That means there won't be any change with respect to its parallel or its property, the basic property, it won't be changed. So that type of a transformation is called as a affine transformation. So what are the examples for the affine transformation? Translation, rotation, scaling, reflection, shearing, all these are the examples for the affine transformations, because the basic property of that object will never change when you go for any of these transformations. We can express the affine transformation like multiple transformations, some composition of multiple transformations. Another example is the coordinate descripts for a scene from one reference system to another. So here also we can define them as a combination of translation and rotation. Affine transformations which are involving translation, rotation and reflection, they are going to preserve the angle and the length, as well as if there are any parallel lines. For each of these transformations, line lengths and the length between any two lines, they are going to remain the same even after the transformation. Now we will see some of the OpenGL geometric transformation functions. A 4x4 translation matrix is given by the GL translate Tx, Ty and Tz, where we have the Tx is nothing but the translation on the x direction, Ty is the translation on the y direction and Tz is the translation on the z direction. So for the 2 dimensions applications, the Tz will be equal to 0. So Tx, Ty and Tz can be given in some real number, and then we are going to get the translation matrix. This translation matrix, it will be used for transforming the positions of the objects with the values what has been specified. So I have given a star here, GL translate star. Why? Because this translate, it can be here. If you give f, it will be a floating number. If you give a I, it will be a integer number. Usually it will be a floating number. A 4 cross 4 rotation matrix will be generated by making use of the API GL rotate. The first parameter is the theta, which is given in degrees. This routine is going to convert that to radians for the trigonometric calculations. The next parameter is on which axis it has to be rotated. So that rotations, it can be expressed in the form of x, y and z. The star is nothing but, here we can have either the suffix code can be f or d. That means you can go for a floating number or you can go for a integer number. So this API is going to rotate the point around the origin. A 4 cross 4 scaling matrix with respect to the coordinate origin can be generated by making use of the GL scale. GL scale, it can be f or d. I have given f here, GL scale f, x, y and z value. So it is going to give the scaling factors in terms of the x direction, y direction and the z direction. But you have to remember that a 0 value will be causing a processing error. So you should not give 0 value for the scaling. So we cannot generate the inverse matrix, and that is why you should never give a 0 value for in the scaling factor. The GL matrix mode routine, it is used to set up the projection mode. So which designates the matrix which can be used for the projection transformation. If it is used for the geometric transformation, then I have to make use of the model view matrix. If I have to go for the texture matrix, that means the patterns and surfaces, if I want to give some value, then you can go for the GL matrix mode by making use of the texture, GL texture. Or if you want to give a colorful matrix, if you are using the, it is done only when you are using ARB imaging system. So you can go for this one when you are going for a colorful matrices, that is the GL color. And then by default, the default argument for this one is the GL model view. By making use of the GL matrix mode, you can go for setting any of these 4 values. That means you can go for a model view, which is going to give the geometric transformation. You can go for a GL projection, which is going to give the projection transformations. GL texture, it is going to give a array of textures and surfaces, patterns and surfaces. Then the GL color, it is going to give different colors to the matrix. The default case is the GL model view. Any values can be assigned to the matrix, the current matrix, by making use of the GL load matrix. In the GL load matrix, we may be having some content regarding to the projection or to the model view or to the texture. So it depends upon the matrix mode. So these values can be changed by making use of the GL load matrix. Whatever array you are going to specify, those array elements are going to be assigned to the elements of the current matrix. In the GL load identity, we are going to assign the identity matrix to the current matrix. That means the value of the zeros and ones in terms of the identity matrix, that will be loaded into your current matrix. To load the identity values, we use the GL load identity. To load some specific values, 4 cross 4 values, you can give any of your choice. That value if you want to give, you have to mention that one by making use of the GL load matrix. The current matrix will be multiplied, or the values will be taken up from this 4 cross 4 matrix. The GL multiply matrix, it is going to multiply the current matrix with the one what we have specified in our elements 16. And our replacement will be happening for the current matrix with the product. So we can make use of the GL multiply matrix. So the current matrix will be determined by the current matrix mode. The mode can be either the projection matrix, model view matrix or the texture matrix. At any time during the processing of one scene, we will be having multiple objects. So the top matrix of each of this stack is called as the current matrix. After we specifying the viewing and the geometric transformation, the top of the model view matrix is a 4x4 composite matrix, which is a combination of viewing and various other geometric transformations. OpenGL supports a model view stack depth of at least 32 because we want to create multiple views and multiple transformation sequences. So we can save all this in a stack which is having the maximum depth of 32. So these 32 matrices, it can be saved on the model view stack. We can determine the number of positions available in the model view stack for a particular implementation of OpenGL by making use of the GL get integer v. When we make use of this, we are going to get a single integer value to an array which is called given by the second parameter. The other three matrix modes have a maximum stack depth of 2, but in the case of the model view, we will be having the depth as 32. But for the projection, for the texture and for the color, we only have a maximum depth of 2. If you want to determine the maximum available depth, then also we can make use of the GL get integer v. So this model view stack will be containing only the identity matrix, and initially it will return only 1 if you are giving a query. Later on, we can make use of this GL integer v to find out how many matrices are there in the stack and what is the position available in the present stack in the model view stack that can be got by making use of the API GL integer v. We have two more functions available in OpenGL for processing the matrices in a stack. These processing functions are more efficient than manipulating the stack matrices individually, particularly when we are implementing them on hardware. For example, hardware implementation can copy multiple matrix elements simultaneously, and we can maintain an identity matrix on the stack so that initializations of the current matrix can be performed faster than by using repeated calls to GL load identity. So with the current matrix, what we are going to do, we will copy the current matrix at the top of the active stack and store that copy in the second stack position by making use of the GL push matrix. This will give us duplicate matrices at the top two positions of the stack. The other stack function is GL pop matrix. This GL pop matrix will destroy the matrix at the top of the stack, and the second matrix in the stack will become the current matrix. To pop the top of the stack, there must be at least two matrices in the stack, or else an error will be returned. So GL pop matrix is used for removing a matrix from the stack. So the stack can be either a model view stack, or it can be a depth stack, it can be a texture stack, or it can be a projection stack. So if I want to remove, then I can make use of the GL pop matrix. So these are some of the viewing and other supporting transformation functions, APIs, what we are going to study in our second and the third module.